And I want to thank my next guest, Mark Baimbridge. Mark has joined the program because he's doing an Empower You seminar tonight. And thanks to Dan Reganold, who was the creator. It was his brainchild to put together Empower You. Wonderful education and learning opportunities. An idea for an exchange of thoughts and ideas, sometimes controversial. Mark Baimbridge is a retired partner from one of the big four accounting firms. You may have heard of him, Ernst & Young. He was also a member of the Ohio Republican State Central Committee. He and four other members, Joanne Campbell, Joe Miller, and Laura Rosenberger, as well as Denise Verdi, filed a lawsuit against the Ohio Republican Party chairman, Robert Paduchik, accusing him of misreporting over $3 million in missing funds without adequate explanation, among other violations. My guest and other plaintiffs demand accountability from Paduchik and other party leaders. Welcome to the program, Mark. It's a real pleasure to have you on today.
Thanks, Brian. Glad to be here.
And I suspect we have lawyers from Isaac, Wiles, and Burkholder probably listening to our conversation right now. Mark, did you hear from them?
I did not hear directly from them, but they are sending out letters to people like Empower You, etc., kind of threatening, or very much threatening, and try to use scare tactics to keep myself and the other plaintiffs and other people on this state central committee from reporting what's happening.
Yeah, and they at least acknowledge that they have a tough standard of. I'm looking at the threatening email they sent to Dan Reganold himself, threatening to sue him for actual malice, merely for providing a forum for you, Mark, to talk about the evidence and your allegations in the lawsuit. Listen, I'm a lawyer. You put allegations in a lawsuit, you're going to have to provide supporting documents and information proving what you say. Otherwise, you're going to lose. So I presume on some level, Mark, you've got supporting documents which support the claims that you have alleged in the lawsuit.
Well, we have all kinds of supporting documents, no question.
Right. Well, actual malice standard is a very high bar to meet, and these folks are indeed public figures, including the subject matter of the lawsuit, Robert Paduchik. Now, let's talk about what you believe happened. Mark, tell my listeners about the subject matter of tonight's Empower You America seminar.
Well, Brian, first I want to say that as fiscal conservatives, we believe in the Republican Party, and we are fighting for better, more accountable leadership at the Republican Party. Because of Chairman Paduchik's failures, Ohio Republicans really need to save our party from within. And we tried to do that. So I tried to save the party from within and get all these financial issues rectified. And we would have preferred that been done inside the party rather than now going to litigation. And we really went to litigation. The last straw was when he attempted to kick us off various significant committees like the Audit Committee and the Fiscal Review Committee and the Permanent Rules Committee. I mean, those were kind of the last straws, but we've been trying since last March to get these most recent allegations brought forward. And really, I was trying with Jane Timken since I got elected in May of 2020 to help reform it was very obvious to me as a CPA and a retired partner from a big four accounting firm, that there were significant problems in the financials, and we've been trying to get those corrected. And unfortunately, Jane and Bob have really tried a cover-up for this whole situation.
Well, fortunately, Dan Reganold, if you go to empoweryouamerica.org, you can get the materials that I'm staring at, and there is a link to a 24-minute long video of an Ohio Republican State Central Committee meeting. In that, there was a resolution called, interestingly enough, the Baimbridge Resolution that called for financial statements of the party to be audited. And the claim, as it's been highlighted here for me, is that the financial statements have not been audited for at least 16 years. That's your resolution. They agree to allow an audit or some sort of audit, and if not, why not?
Well, of course, they didn't agree to that because, as I said, there's a cover-up going on. And they deliberately sent, we had three other resolutions or motions at the meeting, and they sent them all to committee to be buried in a committee. And that's what happened on all three resolutions. And there has not been an audit done on the financial statements at all. Their claims otherwise are totally false.
Well, I guess I'm wondering, the lawyer in me immediately wants to know, are there not bylaws requiring an audit, or is there not some sort of overlying state law that would require the collector of funds, in this particular case, the Ohio Republican Party, to provide financial documents and information.
Absolutely. There's nothing under a law, Ohio law, that requires it, but the bylaws, or what they call the permanent rules, specifically say that the audit committee shall annually examine the records of the treasurer, who our treasurer maintains the records under Ohio law, and examine those on an annual basis, and gives the audit committee the authority to hire a CPA firm to assist them in that. And, that hasn't been done for many years. And, when I first got on board and I asked the chairman of, and that's in quotes, of the audit committee, why they hadn't had an audit done. And he said to me, well, we trust management. So that's the kind of response you get. I mean, it's just kind of crazy.
What?
And the other key thing, Brian, is that in 2017, there was a consulting report done by an organization called Right Side Compliance. And that document is now a public document released by Dwayne Pullman from Channel 12 News in Cincinnati. And he's got a 5-minute broadcast on this. And, Jane Timken ignored all the key elements of what that consulting report suggested. Things like adopting generally accepted accounting principles, which is kind of basic, implementing internal controls to guard the assets, hiring a competent staff to do the bookkeeping and accounting. I mean, those are just some of the major things that they ignored in that report. Unfortunately, and really because they ignored all those suggestions and actually locked it in a cabinet, and people were not allowed to make copies of it, and was really never given to the state central committee. Just some summary was given to them, and which lied and said they had implemented all this stuff. This thing is devastating. And the fact that Jane Timken buried this and did not implement it is just a crime.
Well, let's pause for a moment, Mark.
It's a shame.
Mark, it sounds that way, the way you describe it. And of course, the allegations in the lawsuit are pretty unbelievable. I'm not unbelievable in the sense that they're not true, or I'm not commenting on whether they're false or not, but damning anyway. But this must be proven in a court of law. I want to pause for a minute because I got a couple more questions for you, Mark. And we'll give my listeners again more information about the seminar you're going to be doing tonight, Empower You America. Mark Baimbridge will continue after I mention my friend. It is 7:41 right now, 55 Kansas City Talk Station. Talking to Mark Baimbridge. He's one of the folks that brought a lawsuit against the Ohio Republican Party, claiming some financial shenanigans going on. You can read into it at empoweryouamerica.org. Sign up for the seminar. You got to register. It's tonight between 7 and 8:15 p.m. Subject matter of a threatening letter received by Dan Reganold, who has been told that he is going to be sued. Mark R. Weaver, a partner with the law firm of Isaac Wiles and Burkholder, saying that there is an independent, and I'll read from the threat, Mark. There's an independent accounting firm report that disproves the false allegations that money is missing from ORP. You can download the full report here, and he provided a link in this threatening email. With the receipt of this email, you now have knowledge that the money is missing allegation is false. Publishing or otherwise disseminating falsehood, knowing it to be false, meets the actual malice standard of New York Times versus Sullivan. Liability for defamation may attach to both the speaker, that will be you, Mark, of the false claim, as well as the person or entity publishing or broadcasting the false claim, and that's the allegation they make against poor Dan Reganold, who's merely providing a vehicle for the exchange of ideas. Question for you, Mark. Where is the litigation currently? Has it been subject to a motion to dismiss yet? Failure to state a claim? What's going on, and what is this link that purports to negate what you're saying here on the morning show?
Well, the status of the litigation, Brian, is that, as you guessed, they filed a motion to dismiss. And our attorney yesterday filed another motion against their motion. So, it's going to go back and forth in the court. Typical, they've got a very large law firm, and these things go back and forth. So these lawyers can rack up a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
and,
I did that for 16 years, Mark. Litigation is not an inexpensive proposition. Lots of money.
Exactly right. In fact, we went to a fundraiser last night in Cleveland and raised a significant amount of money for our legal defense, which, as you said, is extremely expensive. And so, we're just individuals on the state central committee trying to get fellow Republicans to help us bring back integrity and save the Republican Party from within.
Well, what's the motive in hiding the ball, Mark, which I'm going to sum up their actions, because you say you've asked for stuff, they haven't gotten it. They asked you to trust them, that what the bylaws require are these audits. They say that they have been done. There's this lawyer saying that here's a link to the full report. I just wonder, you have standing to go after this. A FOIA request for the documents seems to make sense, but why, if this has all been done, all the I's have been dotted and the T's are crossed as they suggest, how come they just didn't give you the information right up front and avoid the whole litigation to start with, Mark?
That's exactly right, Brian. All this could have been handled within the Republican Party, and we would not be talking this morning. They tried to hide it and did a cover-up. Jane did a cover-up of that 2017 report and lied about implementing the results. And, Bob Paducek, who's the current chairman of the Ohio Republican Party, really has lied and tried to cover this thing up, kicking us off committees because we're asking questions. And I would say very good financial and accounting questions that they can't answer. And frankly, they don't even understand, I don't think. So, it's really a sad situation. And so we are trying. One of the key provisions of the litigation is to give us access to inspect the Ohio Republican Party's books and records. And as members of the governing board, elected by Republicans, by the way, we have the right, and that's why we're suing, to inspect those records.
Right.
So
that goes to standing. If Brian Thomas raised his hand and asked for these, they would probably, and I filed a lawsuit to get the records, they would say, sorry, you don't have any standing to be here to ask for them. You're not part of the Central Committee. You're not part of the Ohio Republican Party, et cetera, et cetera. But you, sir, are. And you're a valid plaintiff in this.
Elected by Republicans all over the state of Ohio.
I know.
So, we certainly have standing.
Well, and they certainly have discovery obligations. Assuming the motion to dismiss is denied, which I expect it will, you'll go through the discovery phase, and all these documents will, in fact, be produced, absent some resolution in advance. Well, Mark, you're going to be talking about it at length tonight, beginning at 7 p.m.
We are.
It's going to be online. It's free, as most all, if not all, the Empower You America classes are. I appreciate your willingness to talk about this, to discuss these ideas. I cannot imagine that in any way, shape, or form, since this is a pending lawsuit with allegations alleged in the lawsuit, that there's anything illegal or subjecting you to some sort of liability, in spite of what Mark Weber says. I guess this will all play out in court as well, Mark. I wish you the best of luck, and I encourage my listeners to pull up the seminar tonight and learn for themselves. And we'll, in the meantime, we'll keep our popcorn out and wait for all the answers to the questions that you've raised, Mark. It's been good having you on the program, sir.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Take care. Best of luck.
All righty.
Mark Baimbridge.